The sky was dark and full of smoke. Explosions shook the ground. Human soldiers and alien warriors fought side by side against a common enemy machines from deep space called the Silencers. Ethan Voss, a young human soldier, ran across the battlefield. His suit was damaged. His helmet had cracks. But he didn't stop. He was searching for any survivors. Suddenly, he heard a scream. He turned quickly and saw a tall alien girl surrounded by enemy drones. She was wearing silver armor, her long blue hair flowing behind her. Her arm was bleeding. Her sword was stuck in the ground just out of reach. Ethan didn't think. He rushed forward and fired his plasma rifle at the drones. One by one, the machines dropped. But one drone came from behind him. It raised a sharp blade toward his back. The alien girl screamed again, "Behind you!" Ethan spun and grabbed the only weapon near him, the glowing blade stuck in the ground. It was unlike any weapon he had seen. It was long, light, and hummed with strange energy. As soon as his hand touched the sword, a flash of blue light surrounded him. A strange sound echoed in the air like a deep chime, but Ethan didn't notice. He used the sword and slashed the drone in half. The final enemy fell. The battlefield fell quiet. Ethan dropped the sword and turned to help the alien girl. "Are you okay?" he asked. She looked at him with wide eyes. "You touched the blade of Tlora, what?" "That sword?" Ethan said, wiping blood from his face. "I just needed a weapon. That thing was right behind me." The girl's voice was calm, but her eyes were filled with shock. "That sword is sacred. It belongs to my clan. No outsider has ever touched it. Not without accepting the bond." "Bond? What bond?" Ethan asked, confused. But before she could answer, more Virellan warriors arrived. They bowed to her and then looked at Ethan. Their eyes grew wide too. One of them whispered something. In their alien language, the girl stood slowly. She placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "I am Seraya Tlora," she said, "daughter of High Lady Aravel. You have saved me. And by touching the sacred blade, you have accepted more than—" "You know," Ethan raised his eyebrows. "I didn't accept anything. Just saved your life." Seraya looked down, then met his eyes. "In my culture, touching the blade of Tlora means you swear to protect the heir of the clan. And if you do so in battle, it means something even deeper." Ethan laughed nervously. "What? Like, ... a knight or something?" "No," Seraya said softly. "A husband." Ethan froze. He blinked, thinking he misheard her. "A husband." He repeated. "Yes," she said, looking away. "But I will explain later. For now, we must return to the capital."
The other
Virellans gathered around them and began escorting both Seraya and Ethan away from the battlefield as they walked. Ethan couldn't stop looking at the sword. It was now back in Seraya's hand. But it glowed less than before. The air around it felt heavy. "Wait," Ethan said. "Is this some kind of joke?" Seraya shook her head. "I did not plan this. I was supposed to protect the blade until I was ready to pass it on. But in battle, the blade chooses. And it chose you." "I'm human," Ethan said. "I'm not even from this world." "The blade doesn't care," Seraya replied. "It saw your heart, what you were willing to risk." Ethan was quiet. He looked at the other Virellans walking beside them. Others whispered behind their hands. He didn't understand any of this. One moment he was a soldier saving someone in need. Now, they were treating him like something more, something strange. And Seraya, she looked calm on the outside, but he could see the worry in her eyes. That night they arrived at the shining capital city of Virella. Towering buildings rose into the sky. Everything glowed softly like crystal lights. The people cheered as Seraya returned. And when they saw Ethan beside her, they cheered even louder. Ethan felt confused. "Why are they cheering for me?" asked Seraya. Looked at him. "Because the blade has chosen. They believe you have accepted the bond." Ethan's heart beat faster. He wanted answers. But he had no idea what was coming next. He didn't know that the sword had already sealed a promise, and soon, The entire planet would expect him to keep it. Ethan sat in a tall white room, waiting. He had taken off his armor and wore a soft Virellan robe now. It was smooth, blue, and far too fancy for a soldier like him. The walls of the palace sparkled like starlight. Outside the window, flying ships moved across the sky like birds. But Ethan didn't care about the view. His mind was full of questions. Why? Did everyone stare at him like he was important? Why did the soldiers bow to him? And most of all, what did Seraya mean when she said he was now her husband? The door opened. Seraya walked in, wearing a long dress made of silver fabric that shimmered with each step. Her arm was bandaged. She looked tired, but calm. "We need to talk," Ethan said. She nodded. "Yes, you deserve to know everything now." Ethan stood. "Good, because I'm confused. I saved your life. I picked up a sword. That's all." Seraya walked to the window and looked out. Then she spoke. "That sword is not just a weapon. It is called the soul blade of Tlora. It only allows itself to be held by someone with a noble heart." "'Kay," Ethan said slowly. "Sounds magical, it is," she replied. "It holds old energy from our ancestors. It is passed from mother to daughter, till the right protector is chosen." "And I'm the protector now?" "No." She turned to him. "You are more. On my world, if a warrior wields the soul blade in battle to defend the air, it is seen as a sacred act of union. The bond is sealed by blood, energy, and will."
Ethan
frowned. "Wait, are you telling me that your people think I married you?" Seraya hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." Ethan stepped back. "But I didn't agree to that. I didn't even know." "I know," Seraya said softly. "And I tried to stop the ceremony. But once the blade chose you, it was out of my hands." "This is insane," Ethan muttered. "Where I'm from, we don't get married by picking up weapons." Seraya smiled faintly. "Where I'm from, we do." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "So what now? You expect me to be your husband? Just like that?" "No," she said. "I don't expect anything but the law does." He looked at her, confused. "What law?" "The law of the sword," she answered. "Bonds to souls in battle. They must face the council. If either side rejects the bond, it causes shame, dishonor, war. In some cases," Ethan's eyes widened, "war. Our clan is old, proud. If you reject me, they may believe Earth insulted." They might demand punishment. "Wait," Ethan said. "I didn't even want this." "I know," she said again. "But they don't care what you wanted. They care what the sword chose." Ethan sat down again, breathing hard. He wasn't just a soldier anymore. Somehow, he had become part of alien politics. One wrong move could cause a fight between planets. Seraya walked closer and sat across from him. "I'm not angry," she said. "You saved my life. I respect you for that. I don't want to force you into anything. But we have to find a way through this together." Ethan looked into her eyes. For a moment, he saw more than just a noble girl. He saw someone trapped by her own traditions, just like him. "I'm not ready to be anyone's husband," he said honestly. "I understand," Seraya replied. "But we must face the council tomorrow. You must not speak against the bond." "Not yet." Ethan nodded slowly. "So what? Pretend?" "Yes," she said, "until we find a way out." Before Ethan could answer, a small alien servant walked into the room. The High Council awaits, the servant said. They wish to honor the bonded warrior. Ethan stood. That's me, isn't it? Seraya nodded. Yes. As they walked through the palace, Virellan nobles watched them. Some bowed, others smiled. Ethan felt like he was walking into a trap. When they reached the grand hall, a massive round chamber filled with glowing stones and firelight. He stood before 12 elders in long robes. One of them spoke. Ethan Voss, you have taken the soul blade in defense of Lady Seraya Tlora. By law, your souls are now one. Do you accept this honor? Ethan looked at Sir. Her eyes silently begged him to say yes. He turned back to the council. I accept the honor. The chamber filled with cheers. But deep inside, Ethan's heart whispered a warning. This was only the beginning. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. He lay on a wide floating bed inside a guest chamber in the palace, staring at the glowing ceiling that showed stars moving slowly across it. The room was quiet, too quiet for someone like him who had grown up. In the noisy cities of Earth, everything felt unreal. He had survived the battlefield, saved a stranger, and somehow ended up married to an alien noble girl? No, he whispered to himself. It's just pretend. Just politics. Just until we fix this. But in his heart, something didn't feel like pretend anymore. The door opened with a soft sound. Ethan sat up. It was Seraya. She stepped in silently, wearing a simple white robe with a soft blue light around its edges. Her long hair was loose, now falling over her shoulders like silk. I hope I didn't wake you, she said. Ethan shook his head. I wasn't sleeping. She stood by the doorway, not stepping closer. I just wanted to talk before the ceremony tomorrow. Ceremony? Ethan asked, his voice tense. Yes, she said. The binding feast. It's tradition after the bond is accepted. Right, Ethan sighed. And everyone thinks we're already husband and wife. Seraya nodded slowly. Yes. Ethan stood and walked toward the window. The city lights blinked like stars below. He pressed his forehead to the cool glass. I still don't get it, he said. I was just doing what any soldier would do. I saved you because it was right, not because I wanted to become your partner. Seraya's voice was quiet. No, but they believe the sword knows your heart better than you do. Ethan turned. That blade didn't ask me. It definitely didn't warn me. She gave a faint smile. The soul blade never warns. It only chooses. He walked past her and sat on the edge of the bed. So what happens after the ceremony? Do they expect me to live here forever? Rule beside you? What if I refuse again? Seraya's face darkened. Then the bond is seen as broken. It will shame both clans. Earth's leaders could lose all trust with us. Might even trigger a vote to end the human Virellan treaty. Ethan looked at her in disbelief. Over this? She nodded. To them, marriage isn't just personal, it's sacred, political. He rubbed his hands over his face. This is crazy. Seraya sat down across from him. I understand how you feel. I never wanted a forced bond either. My mother wanted me to marry someone powerful from another house, someone I didn't love. I never had a choice, until now. Ethan looked at her closely. So you're saying this is your first choice? She blushed faintly, her eyes looking down. No. I'm saying, you're the first person who acted without expecting something back. Ethan was quiet for a moment. No titles, no gifts, just action. He had risked his life without even knowing her name. And now, she looked at him, not like a stranger, but someone who mattered. Suddenly, the door behind them opened again. 2 armored Virellan guards entered and bowed. One held a golden cloth, the other a dark wooden box. Forgive us, one of them said. The clan requests the groom to wear this for the sacred feast. Groom Ethan blinked. They're already calling me that? Seraya stood. It's custom. Once the council blesses the bond, the couple is treated as joined, even before the final rites. The guards place the items gently on a nearby table and left. Ethan walked over and opened the box. Inside was a glowing necklace with a symbol that matched the sword's hilt. It pulsed, gently like a heartbeat. What is this? He asked. It's the Heartstone, Seraya said. bonds. Your energy to the clan. And to me, he stared at the stone. Didn't want to put it on. But somehow, he also couldn't put it down. Before he could say anything else, the lights in the room flickered. A red alarm blinked once across the walls. Seraya turned sharply. An intruder. Ethan was already moving. A voice came from the palace system. Unauthorized breach near the sacred vaults. Possible enemy presence. Seraya rushed toward the exit. The soul blade is kept in that vault. Ethan followed. You think they're after the sword? She looked back. No, they're after you. Asterisk, the palace was no longer quiet. Sirens echoed through the glowing halls. Guards ran across glass floors, their boots clicking in rhythm. Lights turned red, and the floating torches dimmed as the emergency systems activated. Ethan and Seraya sprinted. Through a long corridor, side by side. Who would break into a royal vault? Ethan shouted, "Only someone with death in their heart," Seraya said, her face pale. "No one touches the soul blade unless they plan to steal power or destroy it." As they neared the vault, 2 guards lay on the ground, unconscious. The doors were sealed, humming with protective energy. But someone had already breached the security. Ethan stepped over the bodies carefully. They're breathing. Whoever did this didn't want to kill. Seraya looked at him sharply.
That means
It's political. Not where yet. Suddenly, the vault door hissed open. A tall alien in dark armor stood in the doorway, holding the soul blade in his hands. His name was Lord Vecker, leader of a rival Virellan clan one, who had always opposed humans joining their alliance. Seraya stepped forward. "Vecker, this is treason." Vecker smiled coldly. "No, Lady Seraya, this is protection. You gave our sacred weapon to a human outsider. I am taking it back before your mistake ruins us all." Ethan's fists clenched. "I didn't take anything. I was trying to protect her." "Then return the bond," Vecker hissed. "Break the tie. Leave our world." Seraya stood taller. "You have no right." The soul blade chose him. Vecker's eyes burned. "Then the blade is broken, just like your judgment." Without warning, Vecker raised the blade and charged. Ethan didn't move. He didn't have a weapon, but he stepped forward, ready to protect Seraya again, before the blade could strike. It flashed, rejecting Vecker's grip. It flew from his hand and hovered in the air, glowing, humming, and then, slowly, it floated to Ethan, into his hand. The moment Ethan touched it again, a burst of energy knocked Vecker backward. The lights turned bright blue. The soul blade pulsed with light and wrapped Ethan in a soft aura. Vecker groaned on the floor. Stunned guards ran in, surrounding him. Seraya looked at Ethan with wide eyes. The sword. "It has fully accepted you now." Ethan lowered the blade. "I didn't mean to do that," Seraya stepped closer. "But you did. And now, no one can deny it." Later that night, in a quiet balcony high above the city, Ethan and Seraya sat alone. She poured him a drink made from glowing nectar. He sipped it without speaking. The air between them was heavy. "I saw your face," Seraya said gently. "When the sword flew to you," Ethan nodded. "I felt like I was being judged. And somehow, I passed." "You did more than that," she whispered. "You became one with it." He looked at her. "But I didn't ask for this. Any of it." "I know," she said softly. "And I still don't expect you to stay." Ethan stared at the stars. "Vecker said to leave, that I didn't belong here. And maybe he's right." Seraya looked hurt but didn't interrupt. "I'm just a guy from Earth," he continued. "I grew up in a broken city, fighting in back alleys. I joined the army to get away. I never imagined I'd end up here, in some alien palace, holding a magic sword. And now you're part of a story written long before you were born." Seraya said. "Do you want to run from it?" Ethan stayed quiet. She stood and walked to the edge of the balcony. "Our people don't understand humans yet. We feel too free, too wild. But maybe that's what we need." He looked up. "Even if I stay, we're from different worlds." "Yes," she said, "but maybe that's why the sword chose you." He stood beside her. "So what do we do now?" She turned to him, eyes shining under the moonlight. We show them that two worlds can stand together, even when it's hard. Even when it's uncomfortable. A moment of silence passed between them. Ethan finally nodded. All right, I'll go through with the ceremony. Not for the council, not for politics. For you. Seraya's eyes widened slightly. For me, you didn't force this. You told me the truth when no one else would. And if I'm going to carry the sword, I'll carry it for the right reasons. A soft breeze passed between them. The rift between their worlds didn't feel so wide anymore. The sun never fully set on Virella in the capital skies. The sky glowed in soft purple, even during the night, with 3 moons shining gently. But tonight, something else appeared in the sky. Not moons, not stars. Warship's Ethan stood on the tower. Balcony with Seraya beside him, watching black ships move silently above the clouds. They weren't Virellan. They weren't human. They were something else, cold, sharp, silent. The silencers had returned. They're early, Seraya said, her voice tight. I thought they were wiped out, Ethan replied. She shook her head. They don't die. They wait, then they strike. When we're distracted? Ethan looked at her. You mean, while our people argue about old laws and marriage rights, they were planning this? Yes, she said. And now, they're ready. The palace alarms began to sound. Red lights spun. The city's energy shields rose into place, forming a faint dome around the capital. Seraya turned to Ethan. We need to go to the command hall, now. They raced down glowing stairs, past guards and servants who bowed quickly as they passed. Everyone knew who Ethan was now. He wasn't just a human soldier anymore. He was the bonded blade the soul blades chosen. The one who stood beside. The heir of Virella. When they entered the war chamber, generals stood around a floating map. Holograms showed enemy ships landing outside the shield's edge. Strange machines dropped to the ground, unfolding into tall war forms. They're cutting the city off, said General Rokan. No ships can leave. No help can arrive. Seraya looked at Ethan. We stand and fight, like before. Nodded. But this time, we're not alone. He opened a small communicator on his wrist, back on Earth. Ethan had trained with a secret unit humans who specialized in alien tech warfare. Were already nearby, waiting in orbit. They had been silent for months, watching, listening now. Ethan sent a single code. Calcine. Storm. Earth would answer. Minutes later, the first blast hit the shield. The ground shook. Lights flickered. Buildings trembled. The silencers had begun. There attacked outside the city, alien machines moved like shadows. Tall, metal, faceless. They didn't speak. They didn't pause. They simply destroyed everything in their path. Ethan stood with Seraya in the front war platform armor, now covering his body. The soul blade pulsed in his hand, stronger than ever. You. Sure you want to fight? Ethan asked her. Seraya smiled. You're not the only one with a blade, Ethan. She held up her own sword twin to the soul blade, given only 2 royal daughters. It hummed softly as if greeting its brother. They stepped into the battle lift. As the platform dropped to the ground, Ethan took a breath. Never thought I'd get married and go to war on the same day. Seraya laughed. Welcome to Virella. The lift opened. Chaos waited for them. Silencers rushed forward, machines with razor arms and glowing red eyes. Behind them, walking cannons fired shock blasts into the city's shield. Ethan and Seraya didn't hesitate. Together, they charged. The soul blade cut through steel like it was cloth. Ethan moved faster than he ever had before. The sword wasn't just a weapon anymore. It felt like part of him. Beside him, Seraya danced through enemies with speed and grace. Her blade left streaks of light behind every swing. And when one silencer tried to stab Ethan from behind, she blocked it without looking. You've gotten better, she said. Maybe I just fight better next to you. He replied. They smiled, even as the world burned around them. Then, the sky cracked open. Earth ships arrived, sleek, black, fast. Ethan's old unit dropped from the air, landing with explosive power. Human soldiers joined the Virellans in battle 2 worlds, one enemy. In the middle of the chaos, Lord Vecker appeared, but this time he fought for them. He looked at Ethan and nodded once. The sword chose well. Ethan raised the blade. Let's end this. Hours passed. The battle raged. But slowly the silencers fell, one by one, line by line, until finally the ground was still again. The silence returned, but this time it meant victory. Virella had survived. And for the first time, it wasn't because of one world, it was because two had stood as one. The battlefield was quiet now. Smoke rose from shattered towers. Broken machines lay scattered like metal bones. The shield above the city had vanished, replaced by soft gray clouds. Ethan stood near the fallen gate of Virella's palace. His armor was cracked. Blood marked his face, but the soul blade still glowed in his hand, warm, alive. All around him, people cheered. Virellan sang. Humans clapped. The enemy was gone. They had won, but Ethan felt no joy. Seraya was gone. She had vanished during the final wave of the attack. No one had seen her fall. No body had been found. Only her broken blade remained, left near a smoking crater outside the city walls. He held it now in his other hand. She had fought beside him, laughed beside him, and now she was just gone. Hey. Sharp wind blew across the ruins. Ethan looked up. Far in the distance, the Soul Spire, the sacred mountain of the royal line, shimmered faintly in the clouds. He remembered something Seraya once told him. If I ever disappear, find the Soul Spire. The blade will know where I am. If your heart is true. He closed his eyes and gripped the soul blade tighter. The weapon pulsed and pointed north. Without a word, Eth began to walk. Hours passed, he climbed the frozen cliffs of the Soul Spire. His hands bled, his breath turned to steam. But he didn't stop, not for 1 second. At the mountain's peak stood an ancient door carved into the stone. Symbols of light floated around it. The wind screamed, but the blade in Ethan's hand glowed brighter. He stepped forward. The door opened on its own. Inside was darkness, cold, quiet, and yes. She was chained to a glowing pillar, her body weak, her eyes barely open. A tall Virellan figure stood beside her, cloaked in shadows, but familiar. Hi, Lady Aravel. Seraya's mother. Ethan froze. What? What is this? Aravel turned slowly. A test, she said. Ethan's voice was tight. She's hurt. Let her go. She is not hurt, Aravel said. She is bound by tradition. It's only one. A person can break that chain now. Ethan stepped closer. Me. Yes. The High Lady said. You hold the soul blade. No, but you haven't truly accepted it. Not yet. You said the words. You wore the robe. You joined the fight. But your heart still looks homeward. Ethan looked at Seraya. Her eyes opened wider, filled with pain but not from the chains. From his silence, he turned to Aravel. What do you want from me? Want you to choose, she said. Right now, in this place. It's not because you're a hero, not because of law, not because of politics, but because of what you feel. Ethan looked down. Everything inside him felt torn in two. Earth was safe, familiar. His past, Virella, was alien, complicated, full of danger. And Seraya, she was the unknown he never expected, but also the reason he had become more than a soldier. He took a step forward. Let her go, he said. She doesn't need a test. I do. He raised the soul blade. I'm not running anymore. The blade glowed with fierce blue light. The chains around. Seraya vanished. Aravel stepped back. Ethan dropped to his knees beside Seraya and gently held her. I didn't understand before, he whispered, but now I do. She smiled weakly. Then say it. He looked into her eyes. I don't want to be your protector because of some sword. I want to stay because I choose you. Seraya's breath caught in her throat. The soul blade shattered in a flash of light, not in death, but in peace. Its energy flowed into Ethan's chest, forming a mark over his heart. The final bond. No more ceremonies. No more pretending. This was real, chosen by heart. Later, as the sun rose over the soul spire, Seraya stood beside Ethan in silence. The mountain winds danced around them. Below, the city of Virella slowly came back to life. "You've changed," she said softly. "I had to," he replied. "This world didn't need another soldier. It needed someone to care enough." "Stay." She looked up at him. "You passed the real test," she said. "Not of the blade, but of love." Ethan smiled, and for the first time, he felt truly ready for what came next. 3 weeks had passed since the battle. Virella was healing. The broken towers were being rebuilt. The wounded were recovering. Humans and Virellans now worked side by side, no longer just allies, but family. But the biggest change of all was happening at the heart of the city, in the sky. Temple, where two souls were about to stand before both their worlds, not as warriors, not as strangers, but as something much deeper. Partners. Ethan stood in front of a tall mirror, wearing traditional Virellan robes. The fabric shimmered like moonlight. A golden crest rested on his shoulder, once worn only by nobles. Now, it marked him as something new. First human consort to the heir of Virella. He looked at his reflection and smiled faintly. "Never thought I'd end up here," he muttered. The doors behind him opened. General Rokon stepped in with a slow nod. "Are you ready, bonded one?" Ethan gave a soft laugh, still getting used to that name. "You earned it," Rokon said. "Not by blood, but by choice." Ethan took a deep breath. That means more than they'll ever know. Outside, the Sky Temple was filled with people from both worlds. Human soldiers in dark suits, Virellan nobles in flowing robes. Leaders, warriors, workers all standing together. The sky above glowed pink and silver as two moons crossed paths. A rare event, one that only happened every 50 years. The perfect time for a new beginning. Seraya entered from the far side of the temple. Her dress was soft silver, with threads of blue fire running through the fabric. Her long hair was braided with crystal beads. A soft crown rested on her forehead, not heavy with power, but light with purpose. She walked slowly, her eyes never leaving Ethan's. When they stood face to face, the High Council spoke. "Today we honor a bond not made by law," said the eldest elder, "but by battle, sacrifice, and the courage to choose love over fear." Ethan reached out. Seraya took his hand. "I still remember the first time I saw you," she whispered. "Bleeding, dirty, swinging my family's sacred sword like a wild human." Ethan grinned. "And you still didn't run away?" Too shocked, the crowd chuckled softly at their words. This was not a stiff ceremony. This was something alive, something real. Ethan Voss, the elder, asked. "Do you choose this bond not as a duty, but as your future?" Ethan nodded. "With all my heart." Loraya Tlora, the elder, continued. "Do you accept this? Humanot as a protector, but as your equal." Seraya smiled. "Yes, I always have." The soul mark on Ethan's chest began to glow. Seraya's did two matching symbols forming over her heart. Two lights. One shape, the crowd erupted in cheers. Not just for a wedding, but for a future they had never imagined. That night, great feasts lit the city. Fireworks danced in the sky. Virellan drums beat beside, human violins. Children from both species played. Together in the streets, laughing in two languages, but in the palace garden, away from the noise, Ethan and Seraya stood quietly under a glowing tree. "You really staying here?" Seraya asked, leaning on his shoulder. Ethan looked at the stars. "Yeah, Earth will be fine without me. But Virella. This is where I became who I was meant to be." She touched the soul mark on his chest. "You gave up everything." He shook. His head, "No, I found everything. You, this place, a purpose." She looked at him for a long moment. "You still fight like a wild human," he laughed. "And you still block all my best moves." They held each other close as the stars spun slowly above. Across the galaxy, news spread of a new alliance, one bonded not by weapons or treaties, but by two souls, brave enough to cross worlds. The legend of the soul blade faded, but the story of the man who wielded it not to win a war, but to win a heart lived on forever. Because in the end, he wasn't chosen by law, he was chosen by love, and this time he chose back.